The first member of my winning team is my boy Rob, and I brought him in for two very good reasons. Number one, he is an avid Jeep enthusiast. Number two, the guy's a rock racer, so he gets it.
That's right, racers think alike.
Yep, that's my boy. You see, this Jeep, it needs a bit of a performance upgrade. It comes with a 3.8 liter V6, and when you step on the gas, well, not a whole lot happens. So first of all, we want to give it some performance, some more torque, some more horsepower. My first thinking is throw a nitrous bottle on it, but it's not exactly sustainable power, so Rob suggested a brand new set of headers. So we've got this entire header system here from the guys at Rip Mods. Now if you can look, you can see this is a long tube design compared to the stock short tube we've got here. It comes with the bungs for the O2 sensors, the catalytic converters. The whole idea is to give us more torque and more horsepower, but the big thing for us is it's going to lower the range for that torque and horsepower, which is better for what we're trying to do.
That's right, it's going to lower our peak torque curve about 600 RPM over stock, which is definitely going to help us get over those obstacles and rocks and trees, whatever we're going to be crawling over.
Yeah, it's also going to help us turn that bigger tire we're going to put on it, and when Rob's out there racing, he gets on the gas, it applies the power sooner, you're going to accelerate faster. Well, that's just better all for everybody. Now, the thing about it is, when you're doing a build like this and you're taking out headers and exhaust, it's easier to do it on a lift, right?
Sure, be great to have one.
Yeah, I mean, and we do have one. The problem is someone stole the lift, so we got to work a little bit harder, but that's okay. We're used to that. Now, as you know, we're pressed for time on this build-off right here, so we're doing a little multitasking. Rob's working on the headers while the newest member of our build team here is Ka, who happens to be a resident expert in the world of Jeep. He rounds out our all-star team. As you can see, Ka's getting the air intake system out of the way because we're going to increase the performance another way by adding a new performance air intake system on from K&N. Now, it's an easy thing to do. You can do it in a matter of minutes, as you can see right here. And quite frankly, it's the easiest way you can get performance gains that are guaranteed, not only for your Jeep or any production vehicle.
You know, another great thing about the K&N is the filter itself. You know, it doesn't matter where you go wheeling. It could be Johnson Valley, it could be Moab. It's bound to get dusty, and the nice thing is after your trip, you can go home, rinse it off, and it's totally reusable.
That's great, because not only are you getting a performance gain, you're getting the protection of your engine. You're keeping all that dust and debris out of the engine, so that's nice. It comes with a 1,000,000-mile warranty. You know what? We're doing all this extra stuff. We're putting the performance into this vehicle. Every once in a while, you got to go with a little bling. And now, Rob isn't a fan of chrome getting you home, but you know what? It looks good, so let's go the extra mile, huh? You got that?
Yep, I got it. Get this side in.
I'm just not used to getting this amount of help over here.
Hey, you're good.
Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, the crash bar is out of the way, and that's an option when you're putting on a Poison Spider front bumper like this. The reason you want to do something like that is it gives you more ground clearance. As you guys all know, out on the trails, the more ground clearance you have, the better off you are. Now we've got our air intake system in. That's done. Headers are done. Now it's time to give this Jeep a bit of a facelift up front. The way we're going to do that is with this stubby Poison Spider front bumper. Now, not only is it going to give us protection out on the trails, but it looks good and it's practical. Look at this thing. It's got the angles underneath here, allows us to articulate all those obstacles out on the courses, allows you to get the right clearances and the right angles when you're going over those obstacles and those rocks. The best part about it for us is the fact that it fits, man. We're in a time crunch. We can slide this thing on, bolt it in place. We don't have to cut it. We don't have to chop anything. We don't have to do any welding. That's awesome.
Now, Bruno, another cool thing about this bumper is you notice where the winch sits. It sits up in the air on top of that bumper instead of sitting down low. The neat thing about that is it's going to keep that dirt and that mud away from our winch line, especially the one we're going to use because it's a synthetic line.
Yeah, that's a good point too. You know, if you look up front, it's also got the cutouts for the factory fogs, and you know what, the shackle mounts up here, these are great. Steele's going to love this thing because we're out on the trails, you know, we're burying him, he gets stuck in the mud, we can hook him up and pull him out. I mean, I know he's my competition, but you know, he's my boy. You got to look out for your boy, right?
Yep.
All right, let's get this thing out of the way. Rob can do some deburring, do some painting. We can mount those factory fogs up here. So our bumper is mounted, that's set, good to go. Now it's time to put in our brand new winch. Now look at this super winch. This is a bad boy here. It's 12,000-pound winch, and I know you guys might be thinking, is it 12,000 a little bit overkill for a 4,500-pound vehicle? Yes, it is, but there's a good reason why, because I heard somebody on the phone the other day talking about a 10,000-pound winch for his Forder. Ha! 12K, baby. That's what it's all about. Bigger is better.
12K all the way.
All the way, 12K. Now, before we go ahead and put this thing in place, what you want to do is take the mounting nuts, stick them inside the slot right here, put a little piece of tape over it so when you set it in, they're not falling out and you're not chasing them while you're trying to put the heavy winch in place.
Done that many times.
Yeah, right?
First thing I do is get this Haas fairlead in place.
All right, grab that side. Set that down here. Now to go along with our super winch, we've got ourselves some synthetic line for super winch as well. Now, inch per inch, this stuff is as strong as steel. It lasts 3 times as long and it floats on water, so it's really the only way to go these days.
And another good thing is if this cable was to break,
Yeah.
it just falls to the ground. A lot safer than the steel. The steel will recoil, and actually I've seen them go through bumpers.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not cool.
Now, when you spool this thing up, you want to be careful too, because you don't want to have it loose, because that can be a problem as well.
And one thing I like to do is I'll run a couple rounds around the spool, and I'll actually hook the end of the cable to a tree, reel it in with the brakes on,
Nice.
just a little bit. It gives tension on the spool all the way through the whole, this is 80 foot of line, so you want the whole way nice and tight.
Right.
If you don't, what can happen is it gets in between each of the other strands of the rope. It can actually tangle up and you can't even pull the thing out.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good, because we're planning on utilizing this thing when we're out on our chase, right?
Right.
So we've got this all set up here. The one thing else I want to mention to you guys is the fact that we've got a poison spider fairlead, and what's nice about it is the fact that it works with another company we're going to be utilizing. So this is from Rigid Industries, and check out how easily this 10-inch bar mounts, just like that. It's set up. We've got our plug in here, and hey, Kyle, flip the switch. Bam, right there. We have got a bright light to light up any environment. We're going to have a couple of dualies mounted on either side on the A-pillars, and we are ready to go. Hey, it's a good time for you guys to take a break. We have got a lot of work left to do. That's cool. Now this Jeep is really coming together. Believe it or not, we're almost done underneath the hood. The last order of business is to wire up our source box for our S-Pod, and that's what Kyle's doing right now. Now what that is, it's really a nice way to do any auxiliary wiring. What you've got is a series of relays tied together with clearly labeled inputs and outputs. The nice thing about that, let's say you're putting in this light bar up front, right? All you do is you run a wire to and from it, and that is it. It's a great way to keep your wiring simple, keep it compact, and this way you know you won't have to worry about fuses, relays, any of that stuff. It does all the work for you. Now the way you operate all that is through one single data wire like this. This cable will run inside the vehicle. It'll mount up to this switch panel right here, which you can figure any way you want. The lights will come on, know you're operating. It's just that easy. Now when you roll inside the Jeep, first thing you'll notice is we've got our switch panel mounted in place, and you flip the switch, we got power, which is a good thing, so we're all set up there. Kyle did his job up front. The other thing you're gonna notice, the seats are gone, because we're gonna replace them as well. Now these seats are a huge upgrade over the factory ones, and you need it because this vehicle is going to be doing a lot of off-roading. The driver needs to be safe, right? This is a great seat from Mastercraft. It's the Baja RS. It's got the same full suspension lining in it as the race seats do, so they're going to keep you protected. They'll keep you encapsulated inside the seat, as well as keep you from fatiguing because these things are so supportive. Also notice you've got the cutouts for the 5-point harness. That's great, and the best part about it, the seat is a best of both worlds scenario. It's for everyday driving as well as off-roading because it's got a recline where you can go from a forward tilt to a full recline, so it's really the best of both worlds. It is day 2, and once again, teamwork, the name of the game on our side of the shop. We finally got access to the lift. Kyle's already underneath starting to work on our suspension. Now we're looking on some of the little details in the meantime. Rob took that front plastic grill off, and he's continuing to take off some of those fake chrome pieces because, quite honestly, it's not the look we're going for.
No, I like it under the hood. It looks good, chrome.
Yeah.
On the outside, not so much.
No.
So what we're doing is we're pulling all these plastic pieces off. They're just plastic chrome with 2-sided tape behind them. Take a heat gun, release the glue, they come right off. Well, they usually do, pretty easy. There we go.
You know, the back of the vehicle is probably one of the most important things as far as I'm concerned because it's all about safety. You know, if you're out on the trails and something goes really wrong, this can be the difference between you losing your ride or somebody getting hurt or just being another day out on the trail. And we got these from H3R Performance. Not only are they practical, but they're cool looking as well. They're blacked out with the billet nozzle and this cool billet bracket right here. It holds it secure going down the road, and it's got a quick disconnect, so if you get in a situation, you have easy access to it. That is pretty cool. Rob, you smell that? It smells like someone's smoking a pipe. It's weird. Hey, welcome back to TruckU. As you can see, we are finally gelling together as we all get to work on one project at a time right now. The Jeep is up in the air and we're starting to work on the suspension. This thing's really starting to take shape. Now, when we got this Jeep, it had this little boost block right here, which was giving it a 2-inch lift, which is fine because this thing was just driven down the road. It's an inexpensive way to go and it gives you the look you might be going for. The problem is it's not practical, let's say, if you're going to do some serious off-roading. Here, I'll show you why. This is the original spring. This is the new spring we're going to be putting on to give us our new lift. The problem is the spring's shorter. You don't have as much travel here because of that block. So what we're going to do is we'll pull this out of the way and put in our new lift kit, which is going to be 3.5 inches. It's the Rugged Ridge lift kit, 3.5-inch lift kit from CSE Off-Road. Now this is great because not only do you get everything you need, you get the springs, the shocks, and some of the hardware, but this whole kit isn't 6 inches. You don't have a ton of geometry issues starting to come into play. One of the things we do need to address is the sway bar and the sway bar links, because in factory it sits like this, but with the short links that come with it, it would have to be hung down like this with that suspension. Not what you want to do, because you're going to lose overall travel and some of that geometry. So what they do is they include in the kit these longer ones that'll go in the back. You take the ones in the back, you transfer them up front, and all this stuff will all start to gel. Well, if you flash back in time, you remember that we started our Jeep build by putting on a brand new set of performance headers on this JK. Now, before we can move on, we've got to make sure we tie off the rest of this exhaust system. One thing I want to call to your attention is the transmission, because right now Jeep's having some issues with them overheating prematurely. So in a stock configuration or in the aftermarket, you see the exhaust tube runs right underneath the transpan. What you need to do is make sure you put a heat shield or heat deflector underneath here to keep this exhaust from prematurely overheating that transmission. But Rob and Kyle look like they've got that all handled. We've got the back suspension done. Matt, honestly, is probably about a half a step ahead of us, but it's not about who gets done first, it's who does the better job, and these guys are going to get it done. Looking forward a little bit, I want to show you guys something here right now. This is the BlackRock Viper Series 900 wheels, and I think they're the perfect complement to this Jeep. First of all, they're understated. That goes with the whole look we're going for right here. They've got that tungsten finish with a clear matte coat. What makes it nice is it's got the depth of all these accents and machine flanges throughout it to give the wheel a little pizzazz, you know, but it still looks understated. You tie this up with the Hercules 33-inch tire. It's really a winning combination that complements the Jeep, and I think it'll help us get the job done.
Nice wheel there.
So the last piece of our performance puzzle for this Jeep is to install the Diablo Sport Trinity. Now, we've used this on a number of different vehicles, and that's what's really cool about it, is one part number works on all different cars and trucks. Now for us, we're going to look at its performance capabilities, but there's a ton of other things you can do with it. First of all, you can do diagnostics, you can clear codes, you can data log, you can use it as a gauge pack, but once again, it goes back to performance. Now you can do stuff like horsepower or fuel economy and just about everything in between. Different specific Jeep calibrations you can go to. Well, stuff like modes if you want to go and use your winch. It'll bring you a high idle, which is going to allow that alternator to spin faster, charge up that battery when you're in big draw modes, and allow you to do your winching. Let's say you've got a Rubicon, for instance. It's going to allow you to now engage or lock your differential in four-wheel drive. Jeep specific crawl mode, which is going to give you more bottom end power to get you up and over obstacles. And for guys putting big tires on, it's going to allow you to adjust your threshold for your air tire pressure sensor. So you got a bigger tire, you're going to run less air pressure, right? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to get a warning light in your dash saying that your tires are low. Well, if you adjust that threshold, you get rid of that warning. It goes on and on and on. There's a ton of different stuff you can do with the Trinity. For us, it all centers around performance.